If you ever try to buy a house, welcome to Mortgage Support. Today I'm answering real questions people send me every day. We're talking about income, credit, and savings. And by the way, I'm Nathan. I've helped over 500 plus families, so I've seen it all. Hello, Nathan. I understand that my situation may be a bit unique. I permanently relocated to the US in April this year, so I do not yet have an established credit history here. In many ways, I feel like I'm starting fresh, almost like a baby. And I appreciate your understandings as I build my financial profile here in the US. To summarize my income sources, and then of course, I redacted all that because that's private information. But the concept is like, hey, I got new credit, so what do I do? So this is gonna apply for anybody, I would say, who's new to the US. So this is for who, let's identify the who, is gonna be new US or graduated new grad, okay? It's basically 18, 21, and you're just starting your credit history. Let's first fundamentally talk about credit scores, okay? So credit scores are basically saying the lender's able to predict how well you're gonna pay the debt back, right? So the higher the score means the higher predictability that you can pay the debt back. If you have no score at all, they essentially have no data. So what we wanna do is establish data. So if we know what to do and we're knowing where the puck's going, this will help us solve it, okay? So first thing I always recommend, if you're new to the US or a grad, is try to get an authorized user onto an account. So basically, let's say you're here, right? And you're new, and then you have, I'm gonna try to draw an old person with a cane to signify they've been here in the US for 50 plus years. So that's a cane, that's an older person. I know that's a terrible drawing, but they may have an 800 credit score, and they might have a credit card that has been open for 10 to 20 years. So basically, when you get added on as an authorized user, you get to borrow their credit and essentially take their history and apply it to yours. So it's a nice little hack. Now, the tough question is like, okay, well, Nathan, I don't have an authorized user. Well, that's okay. Then we can move on to the next one. But if you have a way to add an authorized user, that's the easiest way to start establishing credit, because then once you establish your credit, then you can start getting your own credit cards, because like you're not going to be started from scratch. You're essentially jumping a few levels, get the credit cards, and then rock and roll from there, okay? Pro tip on authorized user. If you have this old credit history and they have a 600 credit score and they have, missed payments, do not add that one, because that's going to be your only credit source. So if you add the 600 with multiple late payments, you're essentially taking this brand and applying it to you, which is a no-go. So you want to ask the person, like, hey, how good is your credit score? How good is your payment history? And they may have 5 credit cards, but maybe one of them, because people mess up and no one's perfect, maybe one of them has a missed payment. So don't add that one, add the one that has perfect credit, okay? So that's number one. Number two is you can, once you actually get to the US and then you might have a rental, you might have utilities, I recommend adding, basically, I call it self-reporting your utilities, and rent, okay? Basically, you're gonna be paying these on time, because if you didn't pay your utilities on time, you wouldn't have utilities, you wouldn't have lights. And then if you're not paying your rent, you wouldn't have a place to live. So majority of the time you're paying these on time. So get that added to your credit. I know there's self.something, not affiliated with them at all, but you can Google it. So self is a good one that I see quite often. So that'll be a good one to establish. And you can also like add phone bill and stuff like that, or non-traditional credit, okay? Third is gonna be a secured credit card. So what is a secured credit card versus unsecured? Unsecured is basically, hey, we trust you have a good credit, so here's $20,000. Now you don't have to use the $20,000, but that's unsecured, right? So that's a limit. So secured is, hey, you gotta pay to play. So you gotta put in usually $500 or $300 or $200. And guess what your limit is gonna be? Your limit's gonna be also 500 or 200, whatever you put in. So it's like almost like a 1 for 1. Whereas the unsecured, if you put in $1 or if you make $1, they might give you like a 20 to 1 return or something like that, okay? So secured credit card is how you can get started if you don't have an authorized user or self-utility bill, etc. But if you have an authorized user, you get some credit, you might be able to get an unsecured card. That way your credit limit looks so super high. So basically the goal with credit scores is you wanna show the bank that you have borrowed like $500, but you have a $20,000 limit, right? As an example, that means you're gonna have good credit utilization. But fundamentally, if we change this $500 it's still the same dollar amount. So let that sink in. It's still the same dollar amount, but now you have a $500 usage and a $500 limit. So it actually looks like you use 100% of your card, even though it's the same amount. Even if this was $400, your credit score would be lower compared to this one. So the goal is to get to a unsecured credit card and use it wisely. Next little hack that I like to use is if you have Amex, like if you're in Canada, very popular, Japan, Korea, even Mexico, Europe, and if you have an Amex account, or if you're planning on moving to the US, open up an Amex account because they have an Amex global transfer of your credit from the other country into the US. So this is a nice little hack of almost going to authorized user, and you're skipping a few steps. So if you're in the country that you live in right now, do this before you move. I would say like a month or a year before you move. Establish your Amex credit card, and then you can transfer it over to the US. So that's what I recommend. And again, if you're a new grad, just know you're gonna start slow first. You're probably gonna start here, you're probably gonna start there, and you're probably gonna start here. But then over time, 10 years is gonna fly by and you're gonna have an 800 credit score. All right, so hopefully that helps you. If you're new to the US, congratulations to moving in. And then if you're a new grad, congratulations to graduating. Life is real, so best of luck. Question number 3 is about high credit usage. You know, Nathan, I messed up a couple credit cards back in college, and one even went into collections, but I paid them off. The problem is my credit score is still low, around 600. And on top of that, our credit cards are pretty maxed out right now. What's the best way to actually get our credit up so we can buy a home soon? Okay, that's gonna be like 35% of your score, I believe. So don't quote me on the exact amount, but it's right around 35. And usage, I believe, is about 30%. These two are your biggest factors that actually hurt your credit score or benefit, okay? So usage is a quick thing that we can do to improve your credit score, but it's also the hardest because, like, obviously if you had the money to pay off the credit cards, then you would have, because it's a minus 20% APR, so it's a negative 20% return. So it's like one of those chicken or the egg things, you know? It's like, Nathan, I have the credit cards, but I need to pay it off so that way I can get better credit scores. So it's like, if you have higher credit, you'll get better credit cards and better personal loans to pay off the debt. But like it's like your job interview, right? You need 20 years of job experience, but you're new out of college. You're like, well, can I get the job and then get the experience? But they're like, no, you need the experience, but like you don't have the experience. So it's like, so same exact thing. So I totally understand. So this is what I recommend when it comes to history. Actually, history is kind of a tough one to dive into. So just for the sake of time, I want to talk about usage. So here we go. We got usage, right? Where if you have not used much of your card, you're going to have a higher credit score. But if you use your card a lot, the credit card company is going to lower your credit score, right? So how do we get this to turn into this so that way you can get better credit cards, better personal loans to essentially save more, right? Because like, if you have a low credit score and you get a car loan, the rates on those are like 10, 20%, something crazy. But if you have perfect credit, it's like 5, as the time of recording is 5 to 7%, maybe even 2%, right? Depending on the dealership. But like that actually saves you more so that way you get less in debt. So let's try to solve for this, okay? So what I did for this client was I basically asked a few questions like, hey, where do you see your income going? They said, I see it going up because of just in my industry, I usually get 2 to 5% raises per year, and I verified that with their W-2. So it's like, okay, cool. So we got this going for us. Awesome. What about savings, right? What do you have in savings? They said, okay, I've been saving up for a down payment, so which is awesome. I have 10 grand in my high yield savings account, which is great. Plus, you know, I have like 2 grand in my checking account because I just use that to pay the bills, and I just do the minimum payment to pay the credit cards, which is totally normal. And then, you know, I have, I think they had 15 grand. They had something. It was more than a high yield savings account, but that was like a 401k, okay? So we have these 3 sources available to us, okay? So I was like, okay, cool, we got that. And then I asked the other question was like, okay, in April or whenever you file your taxes, do you get a refund? And they said, yes, I usually get a refund. So if it's yes, this is great. If it's no, then this doesn't work. But if you have a yes, they ended up getting about 8,000 per last year, and their income slowly is going up. So it's not going to drastically change from their last scenario. So this tells me if they keep everything the same, they should be getting a very similar tax refund. Now, obviously talk to your tax accountant. Now, I learned this from one of my tax accountants that was like talking about like, hey, like I'm obviously in the mortgage industry, you see that. So I'm always like trying to figure out like, hey, how can they save more in taxes, like stuff like this, because like they're in debt, savings, etc. And they recommended like, hey, have you tried explaining to clients about going exempt maybe for a paycheck or two? So what that means is going exempt means I don't have to pay federal taxes. You can do it for California too, or whatever your state you're in, but you can go exempt from not having to pay your taxes for that pay period or for that chunk of time, I should say. Usually it's like your W-4 with your employer, right? And then you're gonna go exempt, okay? And then you're going to, like, if you make $5,000 per paycheck, and then you get $2,500 in your bank account because of taxes, retirement, etc. If you go exempt, it's probably gonna be more like, you're probably gonna get $4,000. So then it's extra like $1,500, whatever your pay is. So that's a massive difference that you can use to tackle your credit cards, to lower your usage to get to this point. And then you can get even better loans to lower your cash flow and then save even more as well. So that's the credit card usage question. And those are the 3 questions that I got this week that I thought would be helpful for someone else out there. There's a ton of other ones, but those were more niche specific. So if you like these types of videos, leave a comment down below or like it. And let me know if you have any other questions as well, so that way I continue to make these. So if you're trying to buy a house in the next 12 months, make sure to check out my 12-month home buying game plan video. It's my most popular video on this channel. I think it'll help you. I lay all the secrets out there, no gatekeeping. In either case, if you don't watch it, totally cool. I'll catch you on the next one. This is Nathan, signing out.